get started with this, I will apologize in advance. I am coming off of a cold and my voice is not the best. So hopefully this works. If not, then you won't ever see this. I will record it later. But we're going to just hope for the best. So we're going to start with 2 pieces of lightweight chipboard, 6 1/4 by 6 1/4. 1 piece 6 1/4 by 6, and then 1 piece 6 1/4 by 1 and 6 1/4 by 1 1/2. I'm going to start with my 6 1/4 by 6, and we are going to wrap this. Excuse me. And again, I apologize. With a piece of cardstock that is 8 1/4 by 8. We're going to use our, this one seems to fit better up top for some reason. So 8 1/4 by 8, 6 1/4 by 6, and we are going to wrap this with cardstock. I think I just said that. That is 8 1/4 by 8, 6 1/4 by 6. Let me find my, oh, where did that go? Uh-oh. Well, apparently I've lost my little pokey tool thing I've been using. I'm not sure where that has ended up at. Huh. I'm going to have to go look for that here in a little bit. Okay. So I've covered the back of this completely with tape. I'm just going to use the 1-inch spacers and drop that right down. Okay. For our other 2 pieces, we're going to wrap them with cardstock that is 8 1/4 by 8 1/4. So just remember, no matter if you're using the Easy Wrap album cover method or the lay flat cover method, whichever, you know, it goes by both. Whatever size you're doing for your cover pieces, you're going to add 2 inches to that for your cardstock to wrap it with. Makes it super easy. So if you're doing 6 by 6, cardstock's going to be 8 by 8. So in this case, 6 1/4 by 6 1/4, 8 1/4 by 8 1/4. Okay. And 1 more. I wonder what I did with that. That is going to drive me crazy. I swear I just had it. Oh well. I'll figure it out in a bit. Okay. So we got those down. I'm going to switch the 1 inch for the 1 1/2. And this is going to be 8 1/4 by, somehow this is 4 1/4 and I don't know why this is wrong. Okay, I'm going to have to grab a different one. Okay, so first one is going to be 8 1/4 by 4. I wonder why I wrote that down wrong. How weird. Huh. Oh well, it's okay. Okay, so there's that. Let me grab my trimmer really quickly. So this one should be 4 1/2 by 8 1/4. So all right, 4 1/2 by 8 1/4. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and put my scissors away. And move my scoreboard. Excuse me. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and wrap the cardstock around the chipboard. Fold it around the chipboard, that is. So I'm telling you, I've had a cold. I'm like totally out of practice right here. Okay. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and do this on all of my pieces. You could, of course, finish up one piece at a time. I just like to do all of one step that's kind of repetitive and then move on and do the next step. Okay. So now we're going to come in and we're going to cut out the squares in the corners on all of our pieces. And then you're going to miter. So I'm just folding that in, getting my scissors up against the side of the chipboard, and then just angling it in slightly and trimming. We're going to go ahead and do that on all of our pieces. The cover pieces here ready to go almost. We're going to do the same thing with the spine pieces. So again, you're still just cutting out and then mitering. there. Okay, so now grab some tape. Okay, so we're going to start with our 2 spine pieces, and on these we're just going to wrap these little short ends, not the entire not the sides. We're not going to do these, the wings, I guess we'll call them. Okay, so got my tape on here. You don't have to use tape. This is just my preference. I just think it goes faster doing it this way. So we're going to do that on both of those. Okay, set those aside. And then we are going to go around and wrap all 4 sides on our other 3 pieces. So again, I'm just going to go around with the tape. And again, the tape is completely optional. I just think it makes it go a little bit faster. So I'm just going to do wrap one of these on camera. I'll do these other 2 off camera, and then we'll put this whole thing together. So I'm going to take the backing off of my tape. And then I'm just going to pick a side to start. I'm going to do glue along the chipboard, and then in that center space, use my bone folder, push up against the chipboard, and then over and down. You can just continue on around. I like to do opposite sides. Honestly, it doesn't matter. You can do it either way. Like so. Okay, I'm going to do the other 2 off camera, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I've got my 2 spine pieces, and before I do anything else, I'm going to lay those with the pretty side up, and I'm going to take my bone folder, and I'm just going to work along the edge of that chipboard, okay? And I know on the craft cardstock it's kind of hard to see, but there we go, get the angle there. You can see how that's more defined. Like so. Okay. So we're going to do that on both of those pieces. And then I'm going to take, and again, this is just so it grabs immediately and I don't have to fight with it. I'm going to go ahead and get my edges, get some tape on them. Go ahead and assemble. So this is our small piece. It's going to go with that piece, so I'm going to set those aside for just a second. I'm going to grab my scoreboard. I'm going to lay my spine in my scoreboard because I'm going to use it to help make sure everything's lined up nice and straight. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead and pull the backing off. Glue. And then I am just going to line this up. Because it's lightweight, I'm going to go right up to the spine there. Okay. I'm going to turn it the other direction. And do the same thing again. There's that. Now I'm going to take my other spine. At this point it doesn't really matter which end you put it on because you can turn this over, obviously. So I'm going to cut this. We're going to do the exact same thing again. So we're just going to use the scoreboard to help make sure everything's nice and straight. Now, this piece, you want to make sure you've got it turned right, so you're not doing too short. You want to make sure it's turned the right direction. And then we're going to put this one down on this last end. Excuse me. Okay, so there's that. So I'm going to give that just a second to dry. Move the scoreboard, flip it over. So this will fold up like so. But we have two pieces to reinforce. So these are 6 1/8. One of them is 5 inches, one of them is 4 1/2. Okay, the back is covered with tape. So I'm just going to get the tape off. In theory. Backing off of the tape, that is. And I'm just going to center that over this. Burnish it down. Same thing on this other side. And for this step, you do want to use tape rather than glue because you want this to lay completely flat. You don't want it to bubble. You don't want to, get too much glue and have it slide around, and you don't want to get too little and have glue lines and all of those fun things. So I do strongly recommend doing your reinforcement with tape. All right, so once those are on, then you can just bend. Pinch and get your cover going where you want it to go. Okay, and there's our cover. So we are going to work on, I think no, we're going to start with, yeah, we are going to do it that way. Okay, we're going to work with these two sections first. Excuse me. So over here on the right hand side, we are going to do a pull down waterfall. I used to do a lot more cards than I do now, and I used to do these on cards quite a bit. I haven't done them in a long time, so seriously, this should not be 4 1/8. This is supposed to be 4 inches. Hold on one second. This one's supposed to be 4 inches, not 4 1/8. 4 inches by 10.5. This is going to be our base piece. We are going to score this at 6 1/4, 6 5/8, 7 inches. Again, I apologize. 7 3/8 and 7 3/4. Okay. This is actually going to sit on top of a belly band once we finish our pull down waterfall. The belly band is going to be 4 1/8 by 7 1/4. So with the 7 1/4 at the top of your scoreboard, you're going to score this at 1/2 inch, turn, and then 1/2 inch again. Okay. This one I can actually go ahead and miter. And burnish. And I'm going to go ahead and put this down. And since this is going to go top to bottom, you just need to center it on this particular panel. Because the matting for this, you can just slide right underneath it. Okay. With this piece that's got the 5 score lines in it, we are going to go ahead and fold, make sure it's lined up, and burnish on each one of those score lines. And I did do 3/8 instead of a 1/2 inch so that this was short enough that you're able to see where you would be grabbing to pull. I had done my initial prototype one with it longer, and you couldn't tell that there was something there to pull, so that's where I was like, we're just going to make this shorter or put them closer together. Because for whatever reason, I don't know, maybe it's just me, but waterfalls with an even number of pages don't look right to me. Like I said, this may just be my own weirdness, I don't know. So I was like, my waterfalls to have an odd number of pages. So I either had to get rid of a page or make them closer together. So you want to make sure that this is going to move nicely when you go to pull your waterfall down. So, all right, we're going to put, I have 5 pieces that are 4 1/8 by 4 1/8. And I know a lot of people do this with tape. I'm going to use glue. It works just fine. It's not an issue. Okay. So this is 1/8 of an inch wider than our base piece. So I'm just going to center that on there. And then I'm just going to keep going with my other pieces. One at a time. And you're just doing that up to where your fold is. So I'm doing my glue in my area between the score lines, and then just putting this up to where the score line is, making sure I'm straight with the pieces underneath it, and putting that down. I know I learned this very, very early on into paper crafting, and I just thought this was like the coolest thing ever. And I made a whole bunch of cards and things with them, and then I haven't done one in years. Okay, so I'm going to open this back up. We have one more piece that I should have scored a minute ago and I didn't think about it. This is 1 inch by 5 1/8. the 5 1/8 at the top of the scoreboard, we're going to score it 1/2 inch. Turn it all the way around, 1/2 inch again. You can miter this or not, it really doesn't matter. We're going to fold and burnish. And this is going to go all the way at the bottom. Okay, so here are our flaps. Okay, this is our bottom flap. We want it on this piece. So on the 4x8 at the very bottom down here. Okay. So I'm going to line that up at the very bottom here. Okay. I'm going to give that just a second to dry, and then we're going to feed our 6 1/4 inch part of our flap down through that piece, and then glue only goes on this strip, and that's going to go down on here. You don't want to get glue anywhere else, because then your waterfall will not pull down, and we don't want that. So this will fit top to bottom right there. Excuse me. Okay, let that dry for just a minute, but then it should just pull like so, and there you go. Okay, middle section. This one, we are going to have a tuck spot that is 1x3. Don't need to do anything with that. We have a flap that is 6x4.5. With the 4.5 at the top of the scoreboard, we're going to score this at 1/2 inch and set it aside. There's a pocket that's also that flap goes with. This is going to be 7x4.5. Starting with the 7 inch at the top of the scoreboard, you're going to score it 1/2 inch, turn, 1/2 inch, turn, and then 1/2 inch again. Okay. Both of those elements will be sitting on top of a pocket that is 6 1/8 by 7. With the 7 inch at the top of the scoreboard, you're going to score it 1/2 inch and set that aside. Then, underneath that flap, did I do? I don't know what I did. Okay, so yeah. So 6 1/8, we scored it at 7, and then we're scoring it again at 3/4. Sorry, I knew I did something different there that I was missing. So 1/2 and then at 3/4. We'll figure this out eventually, I promise. Okay, so first up for our accordion pockets, you're going to have 3 pieces. They're all going to be 6 1/8 high, and then you're going to have a 3 inch, a 3.5, and a 4 inch piece. Nothing else needs done with those, so I'm just setting them aside. The rest of the accordion pocket is going to be 7 1/8 high, and then we have 3.5, 4, and 4.5. All of these are going to be scored the same, so we're going to start with the 7 1/8 at the top, score it 1/2 inch, turn, 1/2 inch, turn it, and then 1/2 inch again. And you're going to do that on all 3 of these pieces. So again, 7 1/8 by 3.5, 7 1/8 by 4, and 7 1/8 by 4.5. Okay. Okay. So this is going to be one of those areas where, excuse me, you have a couple of, well, let's get these mitered, then we'll talk about options. Okay, so I'm going to cut through where my score lines intersect on the bottoms of my pockets. I'm telling you, I can't talk today. And then miter the top. Okay. So when you go to assemble these, so the 4.5 inch piece goes with the 4-inch piece. It's up to you if you want to cut these just a hair under 6 1/8 and wrap these tabs around to the front side of your pockets, because the way this is going to go together, ultimately it's not really going to matter, but it's up to you which way you want to do it. So I am going to do mine, I'm just going to do mine on top. So I'm going to start on my bottom tab, get glue on there, line this up all the way at the bottom, furnish that down, and then we'll come back in here with and get our sides. Like so. Do the same thing on our other two. So the 4-inch will have a 3.5 inch piece that goes on top, and the 3.5 will have the 3-inch piece that goes on top. Okay. Okay, one more. And again, this will be the 3.5 inch piece that when folded is 3 inches. And then the 3-inch piece will go on the top to form the pocket. Granted, you probably could have done these as one piece and cut out sides. I didn't want to do that because, I don't know, I don't seem to have, I mean, they work that way. Don't get me wrong, it does absolutely work. But I always have an issue with getting, when I'm trimming out that piece, so it folds up, so I can never get them quite right, where, you know, I don't have overhang or something. So I decided to go this route instead, and I think I'm much happier with it this way. Okay, so now you're going to take your shortest one. You're going to put glue about 1 inch wide in the center. Do not go all the way to the top. In fact, over there really is too high, because you're going to want to slip some matting down in that top strip, and if you go all the way to the top at this point, you're not going to be able to get it in there. Okay? But you're not going to glue it all the way across because you want these to be able to expand out. Okay? We're going to do the same thing on this one. Okay. So again, I'm just lining them up, burnishing that down. And then this will go right here in the middle. It's up to you if you want to glue the entire back side down or if you only want to do the part in the middle. I did the whole thing just so I didn't have to mat underneath it, that I could just do a mat that's going to slide into the top part of the back pocket. So this is 1/8 of an inch smaller than the panel on the back of your folio, so it makes it really easy to put it in. I'm going to flip it upside down for a second because we're going to do our other pocket and our flap, and then the flap that it goes on. Okay, so here's our 7 by 4.5. Again, for the pocket, we're going to miter through the bottom corners where Everything intersects. We're going to miter our top. Okay. Our flap, we're going to miter. And really, instead of a tuck spot, you could use a magnet, and I really might end up doing that because I was not wild with how mine came out on the other album. So I may forego the tuck spot this time. I'm not entirely sure. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and fold and burnish our pocket. Or note off of there before I end up gluing it down on there by mistake, because that'd be about right. Okay, so we're going to put this, and again, it's slightly smaller than our pocket. It's an 1/8 of an inch small, or flap that is. So it makes it super easy to line up. You don't have to worry about it hanging off the edge. Okay, fold that up. And then I'm going to go ahead and fold over the first score line on this, so that when I fold and attach this one down, I just line it up where the fold is. Okay. All right. We're going to center that with our pocket so that it's centered up with that. Okay. I'll come back and fold my other score line. Okay, so it's got the 1/4 inch gusset. And again, this is going to sit right over the top of our accordion pocket. Okay? Just like that. So, tuck spot, of course, will end up going like right here, but you don't want to do that until you've matted. So I'm actually going to take one of my paper clips and just clip that back on there so I have it when I need it. All right, so let's move on to the fun one. I suppose it's fun. We'll see. So our acetate shaker flap. So for this one, you need a piece of acetate that is 5.5 by 7.5. Okay. Acetate can be scored. You have to put a fair amount of pressure on it to do so. So we're gonna, the score is gonna be the same all the way around. You're gonna score it 1/2 inch. You're gonna want to go over that a couple of times, and then 3/4 inch. And when you do this, you want to make sure that your acetate's pushed all the way into the corner of the scoreboard, and that you're holding good pressure on this to hold it still when you are scoring, so that it doesn't slide. Okay? It can be a little bit tricky, but it can be done, I promise. Okay. And I do still have the tissue paper on the back of this just so you can see better what I'm doing. The last score is probably going to be the trickiest because you're going to have to kind of push this down and into the corner and hold it to get in there and do the last score line. Okay. All right, so there we go. Next, I'm going to take a side, and you're going to want one of your cut aparts, 4x6, okay? I'm really kind of torn which one I want to do because they're both cute, and I don't know. I kind of want to do that one because then I can use like some more Halloween, well, kind of. Do I have ghosts? Not sure if I have any like ghost shaker fill. I should probably get that figured out before I start doing this, huh? I'll be right back. Okay, I think we're gonna go with Make a Splash just because I've got better shaker stuff for that one. Excuse me. 1 second. I have run out of water. This is not a good thing. Okay. So since this is going to flip up as opposed to out, we kind of want our tabs that are going to kind of tuck in on the sides to kind of come in and down. So we're going to go on the long side. We're going to cut on the score line to the second score line. Okay. And again to the second score line here. And then to that first score line. So that piece comes off. And you're going to cut on the first score line here. So you've got that little tab. Okay. Same thing down here. So again, up across there, and then up to the first score line, and then up along the first one to make our little tab. Turn it around this way, same thing again. So there we go. All right, so what we're gonna do next, I'm gonna move that. I'm gonna get my 3/8 inch score tape. And I'm gonna go around on my 1/2 inch tab on all 4 sides. Okay. This tissue paper off the back as hard as I'm trying to keep it on here through most of this process so that you can really see what I'm doing. But I don't know how much longer it's going to last. Okay, so we've got our tissue, or not our tissue paper, score tape. Okay, so first thing we're going to do is we're going to come in here and we're going to fold in these little tabs. Okay. Then I'm going to start on one of the long sides. Get the backing off of my score tape. I'm going to put this face down so that when we're looking from the front of the shaker, we see this. Okay, so face down. I'm going to go right up to the score line. Okay, this will fit exactly top to bottom. It's 4x6. Your piece where it's scored here should be 4x6 as well. Okay, hold on. Just stick the backing back on this because we actually do need to fold this over and burnish it first. So we just want to fold at this point that 1/2 inch line and burnish it down. I have to pull that off of there. Oh, that worked okay. All right, so now go ahead and get the backing off. Sorry about that. It's been a bit. Okay. So I'm going to go right up to that score line. And I'm going to fold this over and down onto the cardstock. Okay. And I can fold it up and get our 1/4 inch score. We're starting with the longer side. because it's the harder one as you get assembling this to get attached. The shorter sides tend to go together easier. Okay, so now we're going to fold our 1/2 inch score and burnish on this side. Fold it back. And you really can kind of, you know, force this to go where you want it to go at this point still. So again, we're going to push this over into that crease, fold over and burnish it down. Work it just a little bit, get it where it needs to go. Okay. All right. So now we're going to fold in our tabs and we're going to fold up our bottom. So I'm going to fold this over and burnish, and then fold and burnish, so it's all trained on where it needs to go. And rather than pull the entire backing off to start, I'm only going to peel a corner back, because I want to make sure first off that my tabs get tucked down in, which can be a little on the tricky side, but I promise you can do it. They tend to want to pop right back out, but you show them who's boss, right? Okay, almost. Sorry, I may end a little bit out of frame here while I wrestle with them a little bit. They may need to be mitered a tiny bit, but usually I can get them to go down in. Okay. And then I'm going to push this down and over and pinch it so I can get that first corner to catch. Then I can pull my backing off and go the rest of the way. Okay. I usually do have to kind of flip it over and go in here with something. I truly wish my bone folder were longer. Let's try it this way. Maybe if I do two of these. There we go. Oh, that works perfectly. Check that out. Okay then. So, and then we can use that. Haha, this, actually, I wish I thought of this the other day. This one made my life so much easier. Okay, so I'm using my spacers stacked together to push those little tabs into the corners where they need to go. Okay, so at this point, we're ready to fill. Okay, I am going to go ahead and fold and burnish and get our top piece ready to go. So that once we get the shaker fill in there, we can just fold this over and seal it all off. Okay, so you're going to pinch it open like that. I am using the Buttons Galore Sparklets in Fall Foliage, because it seems like a very frontier mix, I suppose. I'm going to go ahead, because this is a thicker, borderless shaker, and I can do it. I'm going to use all of it. Well, most all of it. Some of it's stuck there. I don't care. All right, so got our shaker fill in. If you wanted to add anything else, like if I had little buffalo. I wish I had little buffalo. I would totally put little buffalo in there. That would be so cute. Or something, I don't know. We'll see. Okay. So again, we're going to try and force those tabs because this time we're not going to be able to, you know, go in here with the spacer and push everything down. So I'm just going to have to kind of go for it. The nice thing is I can pinch this almost completely flat and it will pop back where I need it to. So there's our shaker. Now, the shaker is going to sit on top of a flap. Excuse me. That is 6 5/8 by 4. So with 6 5/8 at the top of your scoreboard, you're going to score this at 1/2 inch and 5/8 of an inch. This is going to give it just a teensy bit of a gusset. Okay, and that will sit exactly on top. Okay, underneath that there's going to be 2 flaps that are 6 1/2 by 6. Excuse me. With the 6 1/2 at the top of the scoreboard, you're going to score at 1/2 inch on both of these. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and miter. Burnish both of these tabs. And we're going to go ahead and put these 2 in, and then we'll do our other one last. So this is going to go all the way to the outside edge, like so. And because it is shorter, you're going to have about 1/8 of an inch on each end. And then same thing with the other side. You're going to go in there right almost to where this is going to fold. I'm going to line it up with my other piece. Okay. And then this piece I'm going to fold that bottom score line first. Okay, and then I'm going to line that up on here. So I'm going to take my 3/8 inch score tape again, and I'm going to go around on the acetate part of my shaker, the back side of my shaker, that is. So, one thing you can do on this, if you think you need to, you can see how there's like a tiny, tiny gap right there. What I did on my other one was I just put some glossy accents in there to kind of fill up that hole, because you can't really get in there and make that last little tab lay down where you want it to. It's kind of hard. That side's okay. You can do that if you want. It does work. You don't really see it, and it does seal it off. So if you're worried about that, there is an option. Okay, so I've got score tape on the acetate parts. Backing off of, supposedly, maybe. Well, for crying out loud. I only using this. Oh my God, seriously. Oh, look how much easier that was. Imagine that. Okay, and then we're going to get glue on the paper section. And I'm going to line this up so the top of my shaker and the top of my flap, and then just lay this down. Okay. Uh-oh, something's leaking. Yeah, I'm going to have to come in here with the glossy accents, I think, and let it sit overnight. But in the meantime, we're going to go ahead and roll back our little 1/8" gusset there and glue this in. And this is just going to center on this page. Okay, and those fold in and that folds down. And there is our folio. So I did a couple little tricks with magnets that I'll show you here in just a minute. In the meantime, I am going to go ahead and figure out where my magnets are first off, and where my glossy accents is, so I can seal up the edges of my shaker. So I will be right back. Okay, so I found my glossy accent. So all I'm going to do is just squeeze a little bit in that hole. This side's okay. And then I was doing it up on one of these over here too. Okay. And this stuff will completely seal that off. And once it's dry, like, you won't even know it's there. It's really neat. I figured that out of necessity the other day. Okay, so magnets. So what I did on my prototype, I decided it wasn't sitting closed like I would have preferred. So what I did is I took magnets and I did a sticker, one of the magnets on the back of a sticker on here and the other one on this side. Okay, so I just need to decide which one we're gonna do. I wonder if that one's gonna be. Oh no, I think we're gonna go with that little guy right there. That one's not quite what I want it to do either. Although I could go right across the middle, actually, because that will work just beautifully. Okay, so these are not the normal basic gray magnets. These are some that I bought online. They're super, super strong. They're super thin, and they're good for like the weird applications like this. So we're gonna lay that down right there. I'm going to take a piece of score tape. I'm going to kind of lay this on here, figure out which way that one needs to go. And I will fold this whole thing over, and press it down on there, and hope that my tape picks it up. Almost, so close. So close, I can see it trying to stick. And it's just too strong, not even joking. Aha, there we go, that worked. Okay, so we've got that lined up, so once we mat, there we go, all set. So that says hold on to your hats. And we could add another little thingamabob or two to that if we wanted to. If I could take this little cactus, put him down there. Nah, I don't like him there. Never mind. No little cactus. Honestly, it's probably fine with just that one. If I decide to add something later, I can. And then the other place was on the back here. So I'm going to take another one of my magnets and I'm going to put it down on the bottom. I'm going to get the opposite one. Turn this around so I can actually see what I'm doing. And we're going to use the same trick again, figuring out which way it needs to go. And again, we're just going to fold it up. Actually, we're going to open these up because this is going to go all the way to the back. Because again, it's those super strong, really thin ones, and it will work just fine. Okay, so this will hold this down so it's not flipping up when you don't want it to. It'll hold all of that closed, and there you go. You're down to the matting and the decorating, and that's it. Not too bad for an hour, right? So, as always, thank you for watching. I hope that you guys will make this, even if it's not with the rest of the project, it's just a standalone folio. That would be awesome. I would love to see it. You can share those on Scrapbookers of Country Craft Creations. You can also share it on my page, Scrapping Under the Influence, or on Instagram and tag Scrapping Under the Influence. I also have a group that I am trying to rename and I have not time to focus back on it. But right now it is still called I Scrapped Under the Influence, a craft group for all crafters. You can share anything you make that's one of my tutorials or your own creation or anybody else's tutorials. Any craft you make, it doesn't have to be just paper. We want to see them all. So, as always, thank you for watching and I'll see you next time. Bye!